Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Violet finally takes center stage in this intriguing Chicago fire mystery. Violet McCalmy, Hanako Greensmith, has become the de facto medic on Chicago fire. It doesn't seem that long ago that she was being mentored by Sylvie Brett, Kara Kilmer. But now she's the one who is taking the reins and telling Lizzie Novak, Jocelyn Houdin, what to do in the field. We've had some exciting Violet-focused episodes in recent memory, but a beast like this is, well, a different beast. It will put the medic's professional skill set to the test in a mystery setting, as she will be forced to unpack two cases that initially appear to be unrelated. Just can't shake the feeling that we're missing something, she says during the episode promo. It's rare that we get to see Violet in investigator mode. Cases like these are usually reserved for the likes of Kelly Severide, Taylor Kinney, and Novak takes notice of the different way in which her medic peer behaves as a result. You seem like you're trying to crack a code, Novak remarks. The timing of this Violet-focused episode could not have been better. The character has been processing a lot as of late, and it'll be interesting to see how these various emotional conflicts play into her current headspace. She was impacted by the death of Monica Pascal, Katie Strickland, as it reminded her of the death of her ex, Evan Hawkins, Jimmy Nicholas. She even advised the rest of 51 to avoid getting Chief Pascal, Dermot Mulroney, flowers, because of the negative experience she had with their smell following Hawkins' death. Then there's the Carver of it all. Sam Carver, Jake Lockett, stepped away from 51 duty following a heated argument with Violet, and it's obvious the latter is still unpacking her emotions about both the situation and the firefighter. We saw proof of this in the episode In the Rubble. Violet has been so consumed by her thoughts about Carver that she resorted to writing him a letter. A very long letter. We've no doubt that Violet will speak on Carver and her desire to make things right with him at some point during a beast like this. A Violet episode also means there will be plenty of Novak, which is good because she dropped a total bombshell on viewers last week by kissing Jack Damon, Michael Bradway, by the fire trucks. Violet McCalmy had spent years in the shadows of Firehouse 51's biggest personalities. She had watched as her colleagues took center stage in dramatic rescues, heroic feats, and heart-wrenching moments. But tonight, in the cold, eerie darkness of a Chicago alleyway, it was Violet's turn to step forward. The call had come in like any other, a possible arson at a dilapidated warehouse on the south side. Truck 81 and Squad 3 had responded first, with Ambulance 61 trailing close behind. But as they arrived, something about the scene made the hairs on the back of Violet's neck stand up. The warehouse wasn't just burning, it was smoldering in a way that didn't feel accidental. The fire had burned in pockets, some areas untouched while others were charred beyond recognition. Chief Bowden gave the order to secure the area. But as the firefighters worked, Violet noticed something strange. A man stood in the shadows, watching, and then just as quickly as she spotted him, he disappeared. "Did you see that?" Violet whispered to Sylvie Brett. "See what?" Brett asked, her hands busy with a patient who had suffered minor smoke inhalation. Violet hesitated. She didn't want to seem paranoid, but something wasn't right. "Nothing. Never mind." As the night went on, the situation only grew more bizarre. Investigators from the Office of Fire Investigation arrived and immediately looked uneasy. They spoke in hushed tones, their faces betraying something Violet had rarely seen in their line of work: fear. "Arson?" Bowden asked, his deep voice cutting through the night. One of the investigators, a tall woman with sharp eyes, nodded. "More than that. This fire was meant to cover something up." Violet's stomach twisted. She glanced back at the warehouse, suddenly seeing it with new eyes. What was hiding beneath the ashes? She couldn't shake the feeling that the man she had seen earlier was part of this. But why? And more importantly, what did he not want them to find? The next day, Violet found herself unable to stop thinking about the fire. Between calls, she dug into the address, finding old news articles that mentioned the warehouse had once been a storage facility for evidence overflow from the Chicago Police Department. That sent a chill through her. Had the fire been meant to destroy evidence? If so, what kind? She took her findings to Kelly Severide, who had more experience with fire investigations than anyone else at 51. I know it's not technically our job, but something's not right, Violet told him. Severide leaned back in his chair, listening carefully. You think the fire was staged to hide something? Yes, she said without hesitation. And I saw someone there, watching. Severide nodded slowly. Then let's find out what they were trying to hide. Together, they visited Othai's office, where they found Van Meter already knee-deep in reports from the scene. He confirmed their worst suspicions. There were signs of an accelerant, but not just any accelerant. Whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing, and they weren't just covering up an arson, they were making sure no one could find what was inside. Violet felt her pulse quicken. Do we know what was inside? Van Meter hesitated. We're still working on that. But Violet wasn't content to wait. If there was something sinister at play, she needed to know. That night, she returned to the warehouse alone, a flashlight clutched in her hand. She knew it was reckless, but she also knew that whoever had started that fire wasn't expecting a paramedic to be the one digging for answers. She stepped over the caution tape, her boots crunching on the soot-covered ground. The air smelled of burned metal and chemicals, and the eerie silence of the place sent a shiver down her spine. Then she heard it, a faint sound like a footstep. Violet's breath caught in her throat as she swung the flashlight toward the sound. Nothing, but she wasn't alone. A whisper of movement behind her made her turn, heart pounding, and then, a hand clamped over her mouth. Nosy little thing, aren't you? A voice murmured in her ear. She struggled, kicking back and twisting away. She managed to wrench herself free just enough to turn and see her attacker, a man in dark clothing, his face obscured by a hood. The same man from the alleyway. Violet's training kicked in. She drove her elbow into his ribs hard, making him grunt in pain. He staggered back, and she didn't wait, she bolted, running as fast as she could out of the warehouse and into the street. She barely had time to register the headlights before she heard someone yell her name. Violet. It was Severide, and he wasn't alone. Bowden, Brett, and even Kid were there, their expressions a mixture of shock and determination. The man who had grabbed her hesitated for a fraction of a second. Then he turned and ran. Severide chased after him, while Bowden grabbed Violet's shoulders. Are you okay? She nodded, breathing hard. I think. But before she could finish, Severide returned, shaking his head. He got away. Violet clenched her fists. She wasn't going to let this go. We need to find out what he was after. Bowden sighed, but there was something like pride in his eyes. Then we'll find out. Together. For the first time, Violet wasn't just part of the team, she was leading the charge, and she wasn't about to back down now.